The Chicago Bulls have finalized their player development staff for the 25-26 season. Plus, we've got some mailbag. We're going to get it right all into it right after this. What's going on, Bulls Nation? Welcome back to the Whole Lot of Bull podcast. I'm Troy. You can follow me on Twitter at Whole Lot of Bull, or you can follow me personally if you like at Bulls_Troy. So the Chicago Bulls have finalized their player development staff for the upcoming 25-26 NBA season. And as expected, per Mark Eversley's press conference, I believe it was after the NBA draft, they have promoted from within. And this comes from KC Johnson on Twitter. Bulls have officially promoted Austin Default to Director of Player Development and promoted Isaiah Price to Coordinator of Player Development. Default was widely reported to be the front runner for job after Peter Patton's departure. So obviously the Bulls have stuck to the word, as Mark Eversley did say post the NBA draft, that they were looking to promote from within in terms of filling the role for the departing Peter Patton. Now, obviously, a lot of us Bulls fans are still quite upset or annoyed at the fact that they did let Peter Patton go. Finally, we had one of the best development staff in the NBA, and also probably known as one of the best shooting coaches in the entire league. We've seen him make some amazing strides with some of the players. Like you see, Josh Giddey went like his shooting percentages went up, especially towards the end of the year. Obviously, that 46% that he shot in that final stretch of the season, that's not going to hold, obviously. But it was good to see Josh also like make that step up in his 3-point shooting, and it looks like he's continued to do so so far this offseason. We did see, Martis Bazelis. He made some inroads with his shooting. Kobe White has he massively credits Peter Patton for his development in from with the perimeter shooting. He's also taught him some stuff that he's never been told before, which has incredibly helped his shooting, especially last season. And even during this off season, we've seen Dalen Terry still working with Peter Patton. So it's good to know that despite that the Bulls fired him for reasons that we believe to be he had, him and Arturas Karnisovas didn't see eye to eye. Peter Patton had a difference of opinion, and it seems that AK just wanted people on his player development staff that are just going to do what he says and not be challenged in any way. Hence why Peter Patton is no longer with the Chicago Bulls, but it's still good to see him working with players who still want to work with him now. So obviously Austin Default and Isaiah Price, obviously I personally don't know much about these guys, so I'm not going to speculate whatsoever if they're going to be any good at the player development side. But obviously on the as assistant coaches, we do have Dan Craig and Wes Unseld Jr., who have developed players in their own right with previous teams with the Miami Heat and Wes Unseld with Denver Nuggets, and obviously Wes Unseld spent some time with the Washington Wizards as their head coach. And I believe Dan Craig was Miami, and I think he spent some time with the LA Clippers as well. So, and then Billy Donovan, we know he can do some player development. And we saw what he did with the Florida Gators when he was still back in college. So we still have a development staff, but now we just don't have one of the best development people in the NBA. So congratulations to those guys. Hopefully they do an amazing job for the Bulls. And we'll see what comes of it. But yeah, the bulk of this episode is going to be mostly around. I put out a question on the Whole Lot of Ball Discord. If anyone had some mailbag questions for me, and I did get do get a couple here, so we'll get started first, and one here from Samity over in California, and one from my guy Phil from Just Another Year Chicago Bulls. They kind of intertwine with each other, so I'll read out both questions, and I'll answer them basically simultaneously. And honestly, I haven't got anything written down for some of these questions other than a question coming down further, so this is what's coming off the top of my head. So somebody asked, how do you see Coach Donovan work the roster rotation? Starting five and then the next 4 to 5 players off the bench. And then Phil from Just Another Year Chicago Bulls. Shout out Phil. Also been great working with you, working with you for a couple of these podcasts so far on mine and on yours, and looking forward to more stuff to come with you, buddy. He asked, who do you want to see start at the three for us? So as you can see, somebody asking my starting five. Phil's asking who do I think is going to start at the three. So obvious answers on four of those positions. Point guard Josh Giddey, Kobe White at the two, Martis Bazelis at the power forward position, and Nikola Vucevic still with us at the center position. And then I'm going to go. We do have some options there. Like we had Kevin Herter starting there at the small forward after the trade deadline. We've had Isaac Okoro come in that Lonzo Ball deal. There's even that speculation now. Obviously, it's not going to happen because Noah Essengay is going to start off very slowly. But if we go on right down the deep dive of just completely tearing it down to the studs and starting again, could Noah Essengay start at the 3 or 4 position as a rookie alongside Martis Bazelis? But I'm going to go with Isaac Okoro. For the most part, obviously, Josh Giddey and Kobe White are not the strongest perimeter defenders on the team. Now, obviously, I do expect maximum effort from both of those guys on the defensive end. But you need some perimeter defense out there as well. So that's where I think Isaac Okoro is going to come in and play that role. Potentially that, not to step on anyone's toes or upset feelings, but that Alex Caruso type role for the Bulls. He's basically going to be our main perimeter defender. He can defend multiple positions 1 through 4, possibly. Maybe not so much the 4, depending on who it is. Like definitely, probably not the Giannis's of the world and those guys. Where obviously Alex Caruso was obviously more than capable of it, like held back in the playoffs. And I think it was in the in the second round of conference finals, he was guarding Nikola Jokic. So Caruso's hell of a defender. I don't see Isaac Okoro being able to guard up to those types of guys. But for the elite perimeter players in the league, absolutely, I think Isaac Okoro can definitely fill that role for the Bulls. And hey, offense. So all essentially I'm asking out of Isaac Okoro is give me 150% effort on defense and take your open shots, take your open opportunities offensively, get out on the break and run. That's going to play to your strength, especially when you got Josh Giddey, Kobe White, Trey Jones, getting out in the fast break. Even Marcus Bazelis is going to probably bring the ball up at times as well. So get out in transition and run. Outside of that, back cuts, open threes, they're going to get creative for you. And he's probably going to see a lot of 3 pointers created for him by Josh Giddey and Kobe White with the gravity that they're going to pull with their playmaking and like Kobe's scoring ability and Josh's ability to get to the basket. He pull in defenders, he can kick it out to the perimeter for open shots there. We saw him do it last year. So moving on to the bench side of things. Now, again, I haven't got anything written down. I don't have a depth chart in front of me. Actually, let me just quickly check on my phone real quick. I don't think I do, but let's have a quick little list. Actually, I do have something written down. Um, I think this is honestly going to be a lot more like a 10-man rotation. Billy probably likes to go more 9, even 8 if he can get away with it. Um, but straight up, if you're looking at positions, I'm going to go with Trey Jones. Obviously, he's going to be the backup point guard to Josh Giddey. And then obviously we've got Ayo Dosunmu, who's coming back from his shoulder surgery. So hopefully he's all well and truly recovered from that nicely, which all reports are he's well actually ahead of schedule. So that's great. And then Kevin Herter at the backup 3 to provide that shooting spark off the bench. Now, Kevin Herter could quite easily still end up being the starting small forward. But again, Samity was asking what I think, and so I think Isaac Okoro. And then when we get towards to the big men, I think Patrick Williams is still going to get the majority of those minutes behind Marcus Brazales ahead of Noel Essengay as he comes along slowly. And then at the backup center, I think you're probably going to see some split minutes between Zach Collins and Jalen Smith, probably matchup dependent. Will we see some double big lineups? We know Billy Donovan traditionally doesn't like to go with the double big lineups. He'd actually rather go small ball instead. But that will be interesting to see. And then obviously rounding out the rest of the bench. You got Javon Carter. Don't want to see him on the court at all. Dale and Terry's going to get some minutes here and there. Julian Phillips, obviously Noah Essengay, as we've already spoken about. And then obviously we've got our two-way players and Jameer Young is now in Australia with the Perth Wildcats, so he's no longer with him because we got Yuki Karamura now as a two-way player. So who knows junk minutes? I know people go crazy for Yuki Mania, so maybe we'll see him get some junk time minutes. I don't see him getting any real NBA tick. I'm sorry, it's just not going to happen. Like I'd rather play Yuki over Javon Carter, but let's be real, I don't think Yuki's going to play any kind of meaningful minutes in the NBA unless somehow we get a whole bunch of injuries to our guard rotation, like Giddy, Kobe, Trey Jones, I'd assume if we get multiple of those guys go down, then yeah, maybe Yuki will come up from the Windy City Bulls and get some tick there. But other than that, he's just going to be with the Windy City. Manuel quickly, don't expect to see him get any time other than complete utter garbage minutes where we're getting walloped by 30 points. And then my fellow Australian and Adelaide boy, Lockie Ulbrich, obviously with the two-way. Don't expect him to get any minutes either, unless again it's an absolute blowout, and he might get some tick then, unless of course again we get a whole massive injuries to our front court. But obviously, don't wish that on any of the players. We want to see them get it through a full season, mostly healthy. Obviously, injuries are going to happen no matter what, but you know it's real life. You can't predict what's going to happen. In terms of rotation, I mean, coming into last season when before also we got Trey Jones at the trade deadline, I personally wanted to go with a three guard rotation of Giddy, Kobe, and Iodasuma. I think you know Giddy and Kobe are going to get the bulk of the minutes, like 32, 34 minutes a game, and then you would have gone Iodasuma basically getting the rest of the minutes, which is still going to be a fair chunk of minutes for Io. But now you're going to get Trey Jones, who obviously signed that new 3-year, $24 million deal. He's going to absolutely get some tip, whether he gets 10, 12, 15 minutes. Not really sure. But yeah, if Josh Giddey's playing 32 minutes, that leaves 16 minutes at the point guard position for Trey. Again, Kobe White, if he's playing 32, 34 minutes, and then that only leaves 14 to 16 minutes for Io. We want to see Io getting far more of that because he's too important to this bench rotation. Now, Io is also another person has been mentioned as a potential for the starting small forward position. Um, and I completely understand it, and I don't disagree. But again, personally, I just want to see Isaac Okoro go with that, at least to start with, see how it works. If it's not working, pull him out. We'll get Io in there at the 3, or we could end up seeing Kevin Herter back in there at the starting 3 instead. Uh, So yeah, thank you, Samity and Phil, for those questions. Obviously, yeah, both very similar questions, hence why I merged them into one. So shout out to you blokes, much appreciated. To my guy Paddy, obviously now if any of you interact with us on Twitter and in the Discord, yeah, Paddy and I have known each other since we we're like 13 years old. We're now 39, 40. So we've known each other for quite a long time, and we do like to give each other a lot of hell. But it's it's all in love. That's my guy. But he come with me with a question. I just want to see an opinion on where people sit if the bull season goes to shit and an asset trigger move has to be made. Now, when I saw Paddy ask that question, my instant response was Kobe White. Frankly, because I think he's probably our most valuable asset in terms of the trade market, and with his expiring deal, maybe teams will, it's it's hard to gauge. Like there's reports out there that that Kobe is going to be seeking over $30 million a year on his next deal. Obviously, nothing's obviously come out of Kobe White's camp, but that's the reports that are out there. And but I think Kobe would be the one who's probably going to get us the most back in a deal. Obviously, I think I'd assume is on his contract's a bit less than that. I think I'm not sure, it's about $7 million a year, but some correct me or let me know in the comments if I'm completely wrong on that. I don't have the salary sheet in front of me, so if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Happy to take that one. But yeah, I think Kobe is definitely our most tradable asset and probably one that's going to net us the most return. We've seen Orlando Magic before they made the Desmond Bain trade. The report is they came to us with an offer of it was Cole Anthony, Jonathan Isaac, and a first round pick, or maybe even two first round picks. Now, obviously, on the trajectory that Orlando wants to be on and seems to be on, those two first round picks, assuming that they're both Orlando's, would probably be lower, like 20 and below, like 20 to in that 20 to 30 range. And obviously, Cole Anthony, Jonathan Isaac, mm, decent enough players, but that deal was made more for the draft capital in that kind of trade, as opposed to getting the players in return. So yeah, Paddy, and I know you've said this before. Yeah, Kobe White is probably the guy that if things really go to hell, or if you actually get an inkling that Kobe White's not going to come back in unrestricted free agency at the deadline, you try and make a move to get something in return for him before you lose him for nothing. And the last question for the day. Now, this is the one I did do a little bit of deep diving in, sort of, before I jumped on to do this episode. Phil asked me, with a recent surge in Australian players into the NBA, who is on your radar to watch out for in future NBA drafts from the NBL or just Australia in general? Now, for those who aren't aware, the NBL has a Next Stars program, which a number of current and some former NBA players have come through the NBL Next Stars program. Two biggest names being out of that, LaMelo Ball and Josh Giddey, our own Josh Giddey. Some other players come out of through the NBL Next Stars program. RJ Hampton. Now, most of you guys, I assume, would have heard of these names. So RJ Hampton, Alex Tui, who just got drafted by the Golden State Warriors in the second round. Usman Jang, Alex Sar, last year's number 2 pick to the Washington Wizards. AJ Johnson, who was with the Milwaukee Bucks, now I believe has been traded to the Washington Wizards. Rayan Rupert, who's with the Portland Trailblazers, I believe. Luke Travers, Australian player with I think is with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Bobby Clinton, I'm not sure who he got drafted by. It may have been the Memphis Grizzlies from memory. Again, let me know in the comments if I'm wrong on that one. Uh, Mawave King actually came through the Adelaide 36ers as a Next Stars player. I'm not sure where he ended up in the NBA draft. Another player who's also been through the Adelaide 36ers, and I'm shouting out the Adelaide 36ers because obviously they're my team here in Australia. Obviously being from Adelaide. Trenton Flowers, who we had a couple of about 2 or 3 seasons ago now, currently with the Los Angeles Clippers. I think he's just on their G League team. I think he was also playing in the Summer League, if I'm not mistaken. But to get into some names, probably to watch this NBL season through the NBL Next Stars program, and there's actually also some names that I did leave off this list because they're actually in college, like Alex Condon. I know Patty's going to kill me if I don't mention Alex Condon. I think he's gone back for another year with Florida. Um, Now, one player I don't know much about, actually just he's come over for this the NBL 26 season. and I'm gonna absolutely butcher his name, so please forgive me. Noah Kawaku Hugh, 18-year-old from France, 6'8", 207 pounds. He's going to be playing for the Perth Wildcats this season. I did have a quick look at all these guys. Now, all these guys I'm going to go through, I did have a quick look at their draft projection on NBADraft.net. So Noah at this stage looks like a second round pick. Now, again, I don't know much. Actually don't know anything about this guy, so I'm not going to go into him at all. So another guy who's in the NBL Next Stars program with the Southeast Melbourne Phoenix is Malik Lewis. He's from Trinidad and Tobago, 21 years old, 6'8", 194 pounds. He's also projected to be a second round pick. So I did get to watch a little bit of Malik Lewis last NBL season with the Phoenix. He looks like a good, solid young athlete. I would definitely agree with the second round pick projection. Big, strong body. Can absolutely explode and put you on a poster. He did that a few times in the NBL last season. Still got a fair bit to work on, in my opinion, but you can definitely see some potential there. But probably mostly going to be an end of bench player, G League player, in my opinion. Another one to look out for, also is gonna be teammates with Noah Hugh, again, butchering that name, but he's gonna be teammates with him in the Perth Wildcats. That's an Australian guy who was also went through the draft process but withdrew to return to the Perth Wildcats. Ben Hinchell. Should all If any of you got to see the FIBA Asia Cup that's just concluded with Australia, three-peat, baby, let's go. Um, He was come off the bench for the Boomers and that on that team. Didn't get to watch. Well, I'll be honest, I didn't get to watch much of the Asia Cup because most of the some of those games were on at 2 o'clock in the morning, Adelaide time. I'm sorry, I'm not getting up to watch it. I'm not as sick as Paddy. Shout out, Pads. Um, but yeah, Ben Henschel can definitely his best his best attribute is probably his shooting ability. Probably got more of a spot up shooter. He definitely hit it off the dribble. But he's definitely got a lot to work on. He's probably got to work on his handles a bit more and build up his strength. He does project to go undrafted in the 2026 NBA draft, according to NBADraft.net. Um, but it would be good to see if he does go through the draft process again next year. Um, and, yeah, Ben Henschel is 6'5", 198 pounds. So decent sized guy. He's probably going to be more of a point, but off ball shooter as well. But two of the main guys that are gonna be coming from the NBL Next Stars program, I'll leave the Aussie guy to last, but I'll speak of this guy, comes from Mexico, Kareem Lopez, 18-year-old, 6'8", 194 pounds. He's playing for the New Zealand Breakers, here in the NBL. Yes, the Australian NBL does have a New Zealand team in it. Um, Kareem Lopez. Now he projects to be according to again, this is all according to NBADraft.net. He projects to be a lottery pick, and as it currently stands, going number 13 to the Chicago Bulls. Now, if you look at NBADraft.net, it says the San Antonio Spurs. That's because they haven't updated their site because we've obviously got the rights to our draft pick back. But yeah, that pick at number 13 currently falls to the Bulls, and that's where Kareem Lopez is slated to go. This guy, if you're gonna be watching some NBL basketball this season, watch the New Zealand Breakers and watch Kareem Lopez. This kid is an absolute dog. And he ain't afraid of nobody, and he will put you on a poster if you get in his way. He's got mad attitude about him. I've enjoyed watching this kid. Like, still a lot to work on. He's 18 years old. Of course he does. Um, but he spent last year with the New Zealand Breakers as well as a 17-year-old coming out of Mexico. So I'm definitely looking forward to watching Karim ball out this coming season. he should be, fun to watch. So if you can watch the NBL, I'll let you know, after I've talked about the next player, how to watch the NBL if you're international. Like, as a shout out to Hayes, I know he's got huge interest in watching the NBL next season. So I'll let you know how to do that for the international, like, non-Australian, fans. And the last guy I wanna talk about, well, you all know his brother, Australian boy, Dyson Daniels. This is, Dash Daniels. Currently only 17 years old. He doesn't turn 18 until December. 6'7", 198 pounds. He's going to be playing for Melbourne United this coming NBL season. He also projects to be a first round pick. I think NBA Draft.net had him at number 23, I believe it was, to the Denver Nuggets. Um, Dash, I haven't got to see much of Dash Daniel so far, but from what I have seen of him, almost built identical to his brother, Dyson. But he's not the defender that Dyson is, but he's a better shooter than what Dyson is as well. So Dash definitely appears to be more of the offensive player of the two brothers. We all know that, Dyson Daniels is a defensive monster, like second in, I believe he was second in defensive player of the year. I think he should have got defensive player of the year, but that's just my opinion, or biased Australian, call it what you will. Um, But Dash Daniels, this coming season, I probably don't expect him to play a whole bunch of minutes, primarily because the Melbourne United, they're generally a fairly good team. I haven't had a full breakdown of the roster yet. That's something I might do on a whole lot of NBL when I get that underway. Go through each team's rosters. But Dash Daniels, yeah, very athletically, very much like his brother. Same sort of build, same kind of looking jump shot, but I think Dash's is more of a pure and more fundamentally correct shot. But yeah, he's just he's not quite the defender that Dyson is. But that's a story for another day. And that's not to say that Dash can't become close to what his brother is, defensively. All right. So for those basketball fans outside of Australia who do want to catch some NBL basketball this coming season, now obviously for us here, we can watch it on ESPN Australia. But if you're, you know, anywhere outside of Australia, the only way that you can watch it is on the NBL's YouTube page. Now, whether they show the games live or they're just save replays, which they post later, I'm not 100% certain on that. I get to watch all the games live at the time, so I don't know what the exactly how they do it with the NBL YouTube page. Again, whether it be live or posted later after the games. So that's just something to keep in mind. If you want to catch some NBL basketball this season, just be prepared. You may not have to get up at stupid hours in the morning to watch the NBL. So that'll do it for this edition of the Holdable podcast. Thank you guys. So yeah, thank you, Phil, Neil, Samity, and Patty, for sending in some questions. If any of you guys have anything you guys want me to answer in future episodes, it doesn't have to be a dedicated mailbag episode. If you got something for me, I'm more than happy to bring it up in a future episode. So yeah, if you got any questions, you can leave them for me on Twitter at whole lot of ball. You can leave them in the comments below. You can come join us in the Discord. We've just got the queens of Chicago sports in there, Romina and Miss Melissa. So shout out to you guys for joining us in there. Jamal from Bull Central, he's also joined us in the Discord. So we've got a lot of great people now in the whole little Bull Discord. So if you want to come chop it up with us, talk some balls, talk some bullshit, please hit us up. I'll drop a link, an invite link to the Discord in the comments below. But if you don't see him there, don't feel free to hit me up on Twitter again at Hole of the Ball for an invite link there. And if you want to follow me personally on Twitter, other random bullshit that goes on in my life, and the AFL footy and stuff like that, you can follow me at balls_Troy. So that'll do it for this one, guys. Um, you can see in the background, got some jerseys up now. Josh Giddey, Lockie Ulbrich, my guy Luke Longley, who I got to meet 2 years ago in Melbourne at the NBA store there at a meet and greet, and my Josh Giddey Australia Boomers jersey. All right, guys, that'll do it for me. Until next time, people, see red, go Bulls.